Why? The front row is empty. For people at the back standing, feel free to come forward. Now somebody pinch me, right? This feels unreal. This is the day we've been dreaming of for the last 3.5 years. Yeah. We've been thinking, hey, when will be the day when we can get a room full of world-class supply chain minds in the same room at the same time? Today we are here. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Thank you. What you see on the screen here is a team that became a dynasty few blocks from here. These folks are winners. They know how to win. 30 years later, we still know who these people are. They live in our hearts and minds. Another example of a team that is a winning team. The All Blacks, New Zealand. I don't like these guys. But you gotta respect them. You gotta respect them. I respect that, man. I respect that. You gotta respect them. They are winners. They built a dynasty. It's hard to forget that. Right? Who put this one in? John. No. No. Joke. This guy put his own picture there. Like, come on, man. How can we forget the women's soccer team from the US? Come on, big round of applause for these folks, right? Amazing winners. Hate these guys too, all right? But, I had to bring up a cricket reference and I couldn't put my team there. It wouldn't be right. If the Aussies, they rule the world, right? No, so what we see is the image of winners that we can't get out of our heads. I want that for you. I want you folks to be the winners. How can you be the winner who has an amazing career, a fulfilling career in the world of supply chain? And not just for yourself, but also for your colleagues, the people around you, because supply chain of all functions, we can all agree on that, is a team sport. So you got to get the team to win for you to win. But for you and your team to win, who has to win? Your business, right? The business you're working for has to win. And I say, that's TBD. I'm like wondering, Ganesh, what are you saying? Now, I've been a dad for like 16 years. I'm allowed my fair share of dad jokes. What I mean by TBD is top line, bottom line, and delight. In the world of supply chain, we've been always focused on the bottom line. How do I reduce cost to make the business more profitable? I think that's changing. The conversations we've been having with customers, we're seeing a significant shift in that tonality. Tell you a fun story. Last week, Evan and I were with one of the world's largest quick serve restaurants. We were meeting with the chief data analytics officer over there. And his problem was, look, I have a problem with in-store product availability. As the day goes on, we don't have the product that the customer is expecting to come and consume. And we need to solve that problem. It's a CEO level problem. It's a board level problem. This is not your traditional, let's minimize costs. And there's nothing wrong with minimizing costs. Taking cost away from the supply chain is it's a great thing to do. But the agenda is expanding beyond that. Right? This chief data officer is like, I need to do something now. I need to make products more available now. The other thing I heard in that conversation is, he opened with a very open problem statement. It was like, how do you make products more available? If I turn around and say, folks, what are we going to do here? Are we going to optimize our network? Are we going to reduce our stock? Are you going to increase inventory in the stores? Are you going to fulfill more often? Are you going to do something else? I don't know. We have to solve that problem. We have to try many things and figure out how to solve that problem. It's not one magic bullet. If I do X, this is going to happen. Right? So this is the agenda that's changing in supply chains. Now, do you folks have any challenges in your business? Yeah? A ton of challenges. Adversity is something a supply chain professional lives with every single day. Now let's go back to the winning teams. Did they face any adversity? Did they face any challenges? Absolutely yes. There are trades happening every day. Somebody gets injured. Your quarterbacks get injured, right? All kinds of things happen, right? Somebody gets caught in a scandal, all kinds of things, right? So these folks face adversity, but they also found a way to win out of that adversity. Now, supply chain people, this is like a standard, chart. Like, hey, look, what I see here is, the frequency and the scale of the adversity that you're facing is increasing. It is wars, it is tariffs, it is some natural event, there is product shortages, all kinds of things that happen in your world. And it's not just these big things that happen in your world. There's also these small things, day-to-day things. Oh, the truck didn't show up on time, right? The vendor did not ship the product. My people did not show up. It's holiday season. We promoted more than we could handle. All kinds of day-to-day challenges that you face. It's not there's one more thing here. The challenge that you face on the technology side. Fun story here. Laura Sisiri, she needs no introduction. One of the most prominent voices in the world of supply chain tech. She keeps us all honest on the technology side. She wrote a scathing article a month ago saying, we have stalled innovation in the world of supply chain. Now, I read that. Somewhere in there, she mentioned, hey, by the way, there are some new projects coming out of in the ecosystem like Lyric. And I was like, shoot, I have not talked to Laura in years. It is probably time to tell her what we are working on. So we wrote to her. She was gracious enough to respond back, saying, okay, I'll take a look what you have. A week later, Sarah and I got a chance to give her a demo of the product. And let me tell you this. She's here in the audience today, wanting to see what we are up to, right? So she got curious enough to be wanting to be here. Laura, where are you? I can't see her. Somewhere there. Yeah. Big round of applause for Laura. Right? You should talk to her, right? So you have this massive technology challenge, right? Across the board. The big thing, we say like, hey, what will it take to kind of come out of this quagmire supply chains are in? And we thought we need a mind shift change. Before new technology, we need a mind shift change to go from a process-first thinking to a math-first thinking. What is process-first thinking? Look, when you think about running a supply chain, you think about, let me do my supply planning process. Let me run my demand planning process. When you combine the two, let me run the S&OP process. It's process after process after process. Right? How about we change that from process to, let me build my supply planning model. Let me make the model sharper. What can I do to make it go faster? What can I do to go make it give better answers? Can I simulate the supply plan with something else? Can I predict the inputs going to supply planning? That's the mind shift change. Like, it's nothing wrong with the process, but can I put the math in the center? We think if we do that, great things can happen to your supply chain. That is the big mind shift change. And you might ask, is there another example like this? I say, no, I thought about it and I said, look, the best example I can think of is actually the transition from Yahoo to Google. If people remember, on the left is the Yahoo website from circa 1995. Search was a feature in Yahoo. It was there. It's not there. But when Google came about, they said, search is not a feature. Search is the product. And I don't have to say how history played out after that. And I think that's the mind shift change we need in supply chain. Making the math the product. Put the math as the hero. Now you might say, hey, any other examples? Do I see it in my day-to-day life? I ask you, how many of you, show of hands, how many of you have taken an Uber ride in the last 48 hours? Great. Most of you. Excellent. You know that product. Now, when you ordered that Uber ride, you showed up as a demand point. There is a driver who is the supply. Now, when they match that demand to the supply, that sounds a familiar problem? Yes? Did they go through a S&OP process for that? Did people sit around the room and discuss how do we serve this demand? Or did they let the math rip? What do you think happened? Show of hands. Who thinks it was a process? Good. Who thinks it was math? Right. That's exactly what we're talking about. It's nothing different. If the supply is higher than what they want, what happens? They drop the price. It's easier to get an Uber ride. Like yesterday evening, if there was excessive demand, everybody had to take an Uber ride. It was pouring out there. What did they do? Jack up the prices. Right? It was more expensive to go 2 blocks or 6 blocks than it was to ride from O'Hare to here, right? $60. Right? So all that stuff happens programmatically. They obsess over the math for making this happen. And that's what we're talking about. Can we bring the same obsession for getting the math right to our world? That is the opportunity. And you might ask, Ganesh, why are you so sure about this? All right. Oh, by the way, before I get into that, I will use math, algorithms, and AI. Math, when I'm talking to you in a room. Algorithms, when I'm trying to sell to you. And AI, when I talk to investors. Sorry, investors. I know I have some of you in the room. Right? So, yeah, just keep that in mind. Right? Okay. So why are we so sure? Look, we've been a team that's been obsessed about supply chain math for the last 2 decades. In the first decade, we worked in software companies. We worked in actually solver companies that built the solver for solving these problems. We spent a lot of time there for like about half a decade. Then we went out and started what we would call a data science company for supply chain. We really saw math was creating meaningful value for all these customers that we were working with. And that included who's who in the world, like the Nikes, the McDonald's, the Nordstroms, right? The Unilevers. It was creating real value for them. So we were already sure that the math works. But there was one problem that we faced, right? 2 things actually. Math eventually kind of got faded. Like when we were active, engaged, it was like front and center. But then it faded out to the corner when the people who were passionate about it left the room. The second thing that happened was it was hard to scale. The reason it was hard to scale was we were the builders. We went in, listened to the problem, and say, hey, let's figure out what's the math for solving this problem. And we built the math and solved the problem. And that ended up being a very slow, expensive process. Like something had to change. So after the 2 exits, we said, like, we got acquired by Lamasoft, they got acquired by Coupa. After the 2 exits, we left. And we took a break, did nothing for 6 months. Right? And then we came back saying, we've got to do something. There's something hard problem we need to solve here. We're can we do something different this time? Not build another services firm. It has to be something different. It has to be something that scales. That was the challenge we had to solve. And something fundamentally had changed. In the 7 or 8 years we were building OpEx, the technology landscape had fundamentally shifted for us. This is the mad landscape. This is all the underlying technologies that we need to solve supply chain problems. This is circa 2013, 2014. This is what it looks like today. So massive, massive change in the technology landscape. That's our kitchen. Those are the ingredients. I had to bring back cooking, sorry. Those are the ingredients that our ingredient pool has 10x'd. It had gotten significantly cheaper for us to build modern infrastructure for our platform. Let me give you an example. Just the data infrastructure. If we had built the data infrastructure that we had today in Lyric, that would have costed us about $500 million to build 10 years ago. No exaggeration. Today, we're able to build that data infrastructure for a fraction of that cost. And that's what allows us to bring the data story into the application story. Right? Those are the things. There's a lot of machine learning is another example. If we were to build the machine learning infrastructure that we have today in Lyric 10 years ago, that was another $500 million that we had to put in. Today, we're able to build that infrastructure for the fraction of that cost. So that's the kind of scaling we're seeing with infrastructure. There's one big thing that was still missing for us. Who's going to build? We were the people going in and building. Clearly, we can't have scientists going in and building. It's not scalable, right? It's not a scalable thing. So we had to change something about the build. Of course, who's this? It's your Maria. Oh, you're like, what's Maria? Maria, this is the face I gave because it ties into my story very well, right? Because we wanted to give Maria superpowers. We wanted to make her the Black Widow, right? That's what we wanted to make happen. And we centered our story around Maria, but we also mentioned it's a team. It's a team. There are a lot of personas around Maria. It's not just Maria. And we want to make all of them with superpowers. What are these people called? Avengers. Thank you. The Avengers, right? That's why you have a chief of staff. Right? So that was the puzzle we wanted to solve. Like, how do we give these people superpowers? So what we did, we walked into a cave, the founding team, spent 30 days meditating, came out. No, I'm just kidding. That didn't happen. You know, it's not, but knowing me, people think he actually might have done that, right? Crazy guy, right? But what we did was the principle of elimination. This reads neti neti in Sanskrit, which fundamentally says not this, not that. By that process of elimination, we came to the idea that we have to build a platform that is a no-code platform. No. We are not a no-code platform for supply chain. We are a full-powered platform for supply chain. That was the mandate, right? we said we got to give something that gives the best possible science and math, but make it accessible to Maria. So it's not going to be a compromise. We came up with the idea, like, by talking to customers. So no loss of power. And that's how, folks, the Lyric Studio was born, as a 4-layered cake. Reference to food again, right? This is the 4-layered cake that we talk about. You may have heard about this, right? Where at the bottom 2 layers, it's full powered. We have the complete modern data infrastructure that you need to run massively scaled problems, any size. On top of that, we have full powered, best in class, cutting edge, bleeding edge algorithm stack that we call the catalog. You have the blue catalog and the green catalog. Blue is everything that we give you. Green is acknowledging that we may not be able to innovate everywhere. You might be able to innovate better than us in some spaces. So acknowledging that it's a collaborative build. And on top of those 2 layers is where Maria gets to both create and let people consume her work. The 3rd layer is the creation layer. The 4th layer is the consumption layer, where she creates a product that everybody in the business can consume. And that's the idea behind the Lyric Studio. What am I excited about? It's been about 2 years since we put this product in the hands of real-world Marias out there. And the results are stunning. Why? Because Maria is able to innovate in the business. The kind of innovation even we can't do sitting in our labs. We don't have the ability to understand their business problem, Maria's business problem, like the way she can. But we've given her the tools. So today, Maria is breaking barriers. See, I got back breaking barriers. Got it. Yeah. So breaking barriers. She is saying she can build models of any scale. She can daisy chain models. Real world problems are not clear cut. Oh, here's a network problem. Here's a transportation problem. Here's the inventory problem. Going back to our in-store availability that the chief data officer asked for. It's a mix of many things. So Maria is able to say, I'm going to solve a network problem, feed that answer programmatically, remember Uber, to a transportation problem, and the final solution solve A and B. She's able to set that up herself. She's breaking the barrier between planning and modeling, planning and execution. She's able to compose all these beautiful compositions herself. And that's where magic is happening. And there are lots of fun stories. All the talks you will hear today will refer back to this idea of daisy chaining solutions by Maria. Let's talk about agentic AI for a minute. Now, when we fundraise, this was literally the comic we put in the fundraise slides, right? How do we annoy supply chain people? Talk about agentic AI. How agentic AI will solve world peace for them, right? Because obviously we are in the hype cycle and everybody's talking about it. But something fundamentally changed for us also in the last 3 months. The power of agentic AI is exponentially getting better quarter over quarter. How we talk about this quarter is very different how we talked about last quarter. It's because the models are coming out at unseen pace. The rate of innovation in this space is unreal. I live in Silicon Valley. I can't get out of a Sunday afternoon lunch party without hitting what did OpenAI do? What did Claude do? So on and so forth, right? So it is giving us an opportunity to think about software differently. This is Andrej Karpathy, one of the most prominent voices in the world of AI. He was, I think, one of the authors of the Tesla autonomous cars, right? He wrote the first code behind it, if I'm not wrong. He gave a talk 4 months ago saying software has changed. How you think about software has fundamentally changed. You got to rethink software. Our idea of software is deterministic. Once we give an input, you expect a certain kind of output, and that output has to be correct. If I ask Excel what is 4 plus 5, he expected to give it 9. There is no room for hallucination, a word that we discovered in the world of software after LLMs showed up. But in LLM world, these concepts exist. The hallucination concept exists. And we all have, is everyone used ChatGPT here? Yes? Okay. We've all experienced hallucination firsthand. But he calls out that this is a bug, but the product is still usable in every function because there is jagged intelligence. So Maria, it's like Maria having interns. Imagine Maria having 10 interns. One intern is not as sharp as she needs to be to do her job, and Maria loses her confidence in that intern. But another intern is brilliant. You've got to take the brilliance. Right? So what Andres did was a month ago, he gave another talk saying, software has changed again. The rate of change, of speed, of how this is changing is like he had to refresh his talk. I would highly recommend this talk. So what he's calling out is the idea of jagged intelligence. You have to learn to live with it. I think that extends to us as well. The idea of jagged intelligence, where the brilliance is going to be amazing. I'm so excited to show what we have built today. Because now, without stealing the thunder, you would feel like, Maria will feel like she has a ChatGPT for herself. And the magic sauce behind it is two things. One, you're giving all the context to the LLM first on one side. On the other side, we're also giving all the tools. So say, for example, if you want Maria to do, the LLM to do something for us, we tell the LLM, hey LLM, here's the safety stock formula. Use this safety stock formula. Please do not invent a safety stock formula on the fly. Because I know what that formula is. Please use this formula. So I'm going to give you the tools. I'm going to give you the context. And it takes the tools, context, the metadata, and then figures out, here's the problem I need to solve. And we're seeing much better results. And these kind of concepts did not exist 6 months ago. Now these concepts exist. So today, the LLM is doing much, much, much better. Right? AI to the power 3. You're like, Ganesh, we talked about algorithmic AI. We talked about agentic AI. What the hell is to the power 3? Where's the third AI? Let's not forget this. Once you've seen this, you can't unsee it. There's no way. I've watched this thing like 100 times in the last 4 days. I'm like, what's going to happen to supply chains? Right? Because our supply chains are built on certain assumptions. Product takes 4 days to go from New York to LA. That assumption is invalidated now. It's going to fundamentally change. It costs X amount of dollars to go from A to B. That cost is going to go down by like 80%, 90% if this is real. We have to go back and rethink our entire supply chain thinking, like modeling, execution, everything gets redefined in a world where autonomous is going to be the default. So you have 3 forces to handle: algorithmic AI, agentic AI, autonomous AI. That's the magic. That's the fun. It's a lot of opportunity for all of us. The road ahead for us, where are we? Right. So let's talk about you folks. Today, we have close to 30 customers. Big round of applause to all you folks who believed in us early on. Seriously, I mean, we've given them some real pain, the early adopters. So thank you so much. No, so 30 customers. The joke I have with the internal team is there are two things the human mind cannot grok. One is the idea of compounding. The other is enterprise sales. The dance we have to do to go through a dating process and marriage and partnering together, it is unbelievable. It's just hard. Like, we all have to acknowledge it's not your fault, it's not our fault, it is what it is. It's a 6, 9, 12, 18-month process with each one of you, right? So for the 30 of you who are in the room, who are customers, there are another 50, 60, 70 deep conversations that we're having with prospects. We're in the middle of like deep engagement with these prospects. So expect this gathering to at least double in size, if not triple in size, in the next 12 months. Obviously, we have to do some good work to make that a reality, but that is definitely a possibility. The second thing is our team. Look around the size of this room. Just look around, right? We have about 170, 180 people in this room right now. That's exactly the number of Lyric Chorus members serving you. We are about 170, 180 people team today. Set to increase to about 250 in the next 6 months and more after that. So there is a consensus being formed between you folks and the people who want to come and build. It's so important because we're not trying to recruit just supply chain people to come work with us on this mission. It is world-class engineers, world-class scientists, world-class executors who have to come and say, this is the kind of project I want to spend my time on. So we're competing with general AI companies. So the good thing is the value we are creating for you folks is getting our teams also excited. You will see a spring in our step now because we can see the value being created for you. That's where it comes from. The third is partners. It is important. Like when you take on these big projects, big initiatives, Maria has to be assisted with partners. And it's very important for every technology company to have a solid base of partners. And today, I'm glad to tell you, we have a bunch of partners in the room, also not in the room today, but looking to partner with us, right? That's a good thing for all of us, right? This whole partnership ecosystem we're going to form. And finally, investors. A project like this is not cheap. We're going to make money for a long, long time. So it's important that when you look at a startup, especially a scaling startup, that you see that, hey, is this an idea behind which capital will be deployed? And no pressure to the investors in the room, right? But I can assume that if we do our job, you folks will take care of us, right? So that's also an important part, right? That we have, about $50 million. Anybody hear about our fundraise on LinkedIn? Yes? We didn't bombard you enough with our fundraise announcements. Sorry about that. But yeah, so we just raised $43.5 million, right? This is to make sure that we have enough money to serve you well for the next foreseeable 2 or 3 years, somewhere in that horizon, right? It'll run us to that point, and then we raise another round of capital. But the important thing for you to know is the investors are not just willing, they're eager to partner with us because they see there is a need for a net new technology company to exist that is thinking about supply chains differently, right? So that's the road ahead for us. Couple of things I want to start wrapping this down for you folks, like buzzwords. As a company, we're going to try and avoid being buzzwordy. So if you see us using these buzzwords, call us out. Right? Value, last thing, or two more things, sorry, always two more things. Value. This whole thing, why do we have to go on this journey together? What is the why now? Why here? Because there is a lot of value that can be created. There's, a good part of the global GDP runs on supply chains. And we can see products not being on shelf. We can see poor customer service. We can see money being spent through the roof, cost of working capital costs going through the roof. There is a lot of opportunity. The reason to get excited is there is a lot of value that's left on the table that we can create for all of us. Right? And last couple of points. Compounding. I said the two things the human mind does not drop. One was enterprise sale. The other is compounding. Right? When we think about compounding, we think about compounding only in an economic sense. You put $1,000, it compounds at 6%, grows exponentially over 30 years. You know that concept. The one kind of compounding we don't think about a lot is compounding of relationships. In this room, I have my early mentors. I have my early mentors and my co-founder of my last business. A lot of the Lyric team are people we've worked with for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, actually. Right? We go back to 20 years. And that kind of compounding, my first-hand experience, is the platform to create magic. This compounding does not exist just between people. I really think it also exists between organizations. Because once you build a foundation of trust with each other, because we're trying to make the impossible possible. On a mission like that, there are going to be some rough days. Right? And what sees us through those rough days is the compounding of relationship, the foundation of trust and partnership and collaboration. So I really hope that this is a platform on which we can compound our relationships. And there are some of customers we've been working for like 2-3 years now, right? And I can sense that they trust us more than somebody who's just started working with us, right? So it's natural. So I invite you to start building this compounding relationship with us. The last thing I want to say is this is a strategic choice you're making right now. One, are you going to be on this journey of making your supply chains math first? Because in our minds, it is the future. Two, if that's true for you, if you now believe in that concept, if you're going to put your chips in that bucket, who are you going to partner with? You're making a strategic choice on the partner you work with, because you won't have the ability to work with 10 partners. You're going to pick one, maybe 2 partners. We represent a choice for you. We are a direction. We are going in a specific direction. That's the vector. And I hope your vector aligns with our vector. I hope, and I'm confident actually, what you will get to see in the next day and a half is that we are sure-footed about where we want to go. And I invite you to align your vector with our vector. Thank you very much.